Hello guys, I am Shubham Das from the Blockchain Century and I hope you all are doing well, and today's video is going to be all about distributed ledger technology. It is the very first video of my YouTube channel, so do like and share the video and also subscribe to the YouTube channel for more amazing and informative content on blockchain. So let's get started. So what is distributed ledger? A distributed ledger is a fancy way of saying that it is a database that is spread across multiple sites. So we can also say that it is an umbrella term that is used to denote that it is a system which is distributed across multiple devices. So let's clear this out. So the primary aim of distributed ledger technology is to reduce the risk of central storage, which we can see in several organizations and government structures. So there are several types of DLTs like blockchain itself, a hash graph, DAG, holochain, and tempo. So what is tempo? Tempo is a DLT based on subset of ledger, means that those who conduct the transaction will only have the authority to access the transaction and can only store the transaction. But on the other hand, the blockchain, everyone can store the transaction. And let me tell you about DAG also. DAG is a direct acyclic graph. So here we work under the transaction, and here we don't have any concept of blocks. We verify the transaction by making another transaction ahead of it. And all blockchains are DLTs, but all DLTs are not blockchain. So as here you can see this diagram, the blockchain DAG and Tempo are the subset of the whole set distributed ledger technology. DAG consists of array blocks, hash graph, IOTA, etc. I am not going into the deep of these things, but you should know this. And also blockchain consists of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Prime Coin, and Litecoin, and there are many more coins you may know. So so let's go after that. So benefits of using distributed ledger technology in business. So there are faster transactions, removal of a middleman to reduce cost, more secure and transparency. So what does it mean? So they are faster transactions because of the removal of central authority or middleman. They also remove the cost of transaction too because of the same removal of the fees taken by the middleman from the system. It is much more secure as compared to the central database because each node of the system holds the record, thus making the record hard to manipulate. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. How DLTs affect the business. So it is really interesting. DLTs create a permanent decentralized global trustless ledger of records. It is accessible from any corner of the world and do not require to trust the third party to carry out any of the transactions. Okay, so the third party doesn't carry any of the transactions and they do not even control any of the transactions. So we can divide the we can synchronize the effect of DLTs in three major groups like transforming the process inside the businesses and transforming the business model itself and also creating new opportunities. So let's go deep into all of this. So transforming the process inside the business. So this includes the potential of DLTs to change the internal processes and the interactions within the business value network. So the change in it in the form of payment, asset tracking, data sharing, and identity management. Okay, so starting out with payment, distributed payment cut out the middleman and the charges carried out by them. For example, you are carrying out the clearing settlement of import and export using the smart contract. So there you can remove the charges that are included by the middleman. Now talking about tracking. So there is one term, let me introduce it to you, that is audit trail. So what is an audit trail? An audit trail is a step-by-step record of the uh, trade details or accounting details or other financial details through which you can trace the source of the product. So what is the asset tracking? So DLT can permanently store the audit trails of the data. Therefore, it decreases the cost of maintaining separate audit trails. Suppose you are recording the ownership of a goods in a supply chain, so there you can maintain the audit trails. For example, let's say you have a chocolate factory. So there you distribute the chocolate from the chocolate factory to the grocery store, and the grocery stores then sell the grocery to the common people. So here what happens is that the ownership of the chocolate is transferred from the chocolate factory to the grocery store, and after then from the grocery store to the customers. Now talking about data sharing. So here we can use the DLT to transfer the data without any involvement of third-party services. We can also maintain the security and integrity of data by removing the third party. Now, talking about identity management. So through identity management, we can reduce the problem of redundancy, meaning storing the same data multiple times, and also reducing the risk of repeating the same process of identity verification several times. Okay, so moving to the next slide. So this is transformation of business model. This includes the potential of DLTs to look beyond the technology and include the values that are relatable for new types of a customer interaction and involving new ideas for business models. This consists of engagement of customers in the process, microtransaction, and creation of new markets. So let's see these things one by one. So first one is engagement of customers in the process. So imagine creating an ecosystem with an incentive for the participants. Then the customer engagement will be much higher than the traditional technology. For example, let's say you make application where the customer will get the incentive for the advertisement that they are watching completely. So this is an example of customer engagement. So let's talk about microtransaction. Current processes only allow customers to make a full transaction. They cannot make a micro-transaction or pay for what actually is consumed in their end. The alternate could be you can make an entertaining app like Netflix where the customers need to pay for what they have consumed in their end. So next thing is creation of a new market. So it can be making assets on top of blockchain which can be relatable to real world assets. For example, you can make an ecosystem where real world properties or the properties which are owned by real men are there with the details shown in the blockchain. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So the next one is creating new opportunities. This include the potential of DLTs to create new opportunities that are neither part of core value chain nor the core business model. So the first one is funding. So let's talk about funding. So here we have a term called ICO, which means initial coin offering, where many startups have raised funds to release their own cryptocurrency. For example, Tenzo and Filecoins are some of the cryptocurrencies. And the next one is the cloud collaboration. So what is cloud collaboration? So here it can prove right incentives for the actions and behaviors which lead to collaboration beyond the boundaries of a centralized organization. Say for example a platform for task management where you can upload a task globally and whosoever completes the task will get the reward or the incentives, and after that access to data. So access to data, it is a very interesting thing. So token economy can create a marketplaces which have a right amount of incentives, which will provide the right amount of incentives for creating and exchange of data. For example, a social media application where the participant will get the incentives on using the application, and after that it is self-governed organization. In self-governed organization, here we can use the distributed ledger technology to make virtual organizations without any employees running the actual offices. There are commonly known as decentralized autonomous organizations or DAOs. So example of a decentralized autonomous organization is a decentralized lottery organization which can obtain a random winner from a group of participants automatically and transfer the winning amount to the winner. Okay, now let's see the challenges with a distributed ledger technology. So research shows that since 2000, 52% of the Fortune 500 companies have either gone disrupted been acquired or ceased to exist as a result of digital disruption, and the adoption of DLTs is likely to repeat the same trend. The adoption of new technology brings pressure on each firm through competition as everyone want to deliver faster and better products to their customers. Many businesses run through middlemen and cutting them out would be a great challenge. And also create certain parts of the business or the whole business model can be converted into decentralized, and therefore the token economy can take away market shares from the businesses. Okay, now let's see the next one. Difference between distributed ledger technology and traditional technology. So distributed ledger technology follows a distributed architecture, whereas the traditional technology follows the client server architecture. What does it mean? So distributed ledger technology provides a distributed architecture where everyone is hosting the same data and everyone is synchronizing the data together. Suppose you have 1,000 computers, every computer will be having the same kind of data. On the other hand, in traditional technology follows a client server architecture where you will be having a centralized database in a place, and the rest of the machines are acting as a client who can fetch or modify data based on the permission given to them. For example, when you are using a Facebook, then your device is acting as a client and fetching data from the Facebook server. Now the next one, the DLT supports permissioned operation. So what does it mean? It means that you can provide several permissions on DLT based on the need. In public blockchains such as Ethereum or Bitcoin, you can only allow to make read of the data or write operations are available. On the other hand, in traditional technology, it supports create, read, update, delete operations. Now, one more point in distributed ledger technology is that it supports built-in integrity, whereas in traditional technology, it supports with additional components which are given for the integrity of the data. So what does it mean? So distributed ledger technology supports built-in integrity because whenever we are saving any kind of data on the top of the blockchain, we are using a hashing algorithm. So a hashing algorithm is an algorithm which converts a variable length of data into a fixed length. This is the irreversible process, and it also acts as a verification basis of our data because we can now verify whether the hash is different or not. Even if one single bit is manipulated, it will completely change the hash of the data produced by the hashing algorithm. On the other hand, in traditional database, we need to make a external system to check the integrity of the data. Now, next one is the built-in verification of data is available in the distributed ledger technology, whereas in traditional technology, additional components are needed to build the verification. So DLT provides a built-in verification of data. Most of the blockchain have consensus algorithm, which is the type of democratized voting system. For example, say there is a blockchain network of 20 people and someone wants to take a transaction, then all the other members have to agree on the transaction. Only then the transaction will be added on the blockchain. On the other hand, with traditional technology, we have to provide additional components to build verification over the application. Now, the second last point is transparency of data is available in distributed ledger technology, whereas in a traditional technology there is no direct transparency of data. So DLT are transparent. You know, everyone knows that because everyone within the network can see the transactions. For example, in Bitcoin, you can even see the transaction of Satoshi Nakamoto, who developed the Bitcoin. We can trace all the transaction made till date with the traditional with the blockchain. But in traditional technology, what happens that we don't have a transparency of data. We need to build up an additional system to make the data transparent. Now, seeing the last point, controlled and trusted by the participant of the DLTs. Like distributed ledger is controlled and trusted by the participant of the DLTs, whereas in traditional technology, controlled and trusted by the organization owning it. So, what does it mean? So, distributed ledger technologies are built by the system. So, the control and trust of the data and information is with the participants. If the participants agree that the data is correct, then only it will be stored in the database. oh sorry, in the TLT. On the other hand, the transaction won't be allowed in the blockchain. On the other hand, in traditional technology, we need to trust the central authority to store and provide authentic data. For example, if you are using Facebook, then we need to trust Facebook to provide authentic details about a particular participants. Okay, so that's all about this course. So I hope you like the video. Make sure you ask the doubts in the comment section. Thank you.